The phone vibrated at 3 a.m., piercing Emily's half-sleep. Her heart sank as Daniel's name lit up the screen, followed by a message that read, "We need to talk." She whispered, "Not tonight, please," though her trembling hands unlocked the phone. Emily read the words over and over, each repetition heavier than the last. Daniel had been distant for weeks, his excuses sharp, his warmth fading. She thought of the nights she stayed awake, waiting for a call that never came. Sophia once said, "You were breaking yourself for someone who isn't even here." Emily laughed it off then. But now her chest tightened. She typed back, "What's wrong?" But no reply came. Hours stretched like knives cutting into her calm. The city outside was silent, but inside, her mind screamed. She remembered their first goodbye at the airport, his promise that distance would make them stronger. Tears blurred the screen. Emily muttered, "Stronger? It's breaking me." She curled under the blanket, the phone glowing against her chest like a cruel reminder. The silence felt like betrayal, the distance like a grave. Morning arrived with cruel indifference. Emily stared at her reflection, eyes swollen, hair unkempt. She whispered, "He didn't reply." Her chest tightened. She recalled Sophia's warning, "He's pulling away." She wanted to believe otherwise. Daniel had once promised forever, saying, "Distance is nothing against us." But forever was fading. She splashed water on her face, trying to erase the evidence of last night's torment. Her phone lay silent, screen black, refusing to deliver relief. Each second stretched like punishment. She thought of Ryan, Daniel's new co-worker, whose name appeared too often in conversations. Doubt grew like poison. She whispered, "Am I losing him to someone else?" Margaret's stern voice echoed in memory, "Long distance isn't real love." Emily clenched her jaw, muttering, "It is real to me." She grabbed her coat, determination and fragility mixing in her trembling steps. At a cafe, Sophia leaned forward, her blonde hair falling over her shoulder. She said, "Emily, you can't keep bleeding for him." Emily stirred her untouched coffee, eyes glassy. "But he promised me," she murmured. Sophia reached out, her hand firm. "A promise isn't enough when you're alone every night." Emily's voice cracked. "I still feel him with me." The cafe buzzed with chatter, yet their table felt heavy with silence. Sophia sighed, "You deserve more." Emily bit her lip, gripping her phone under the table. Daniel's unread status mocked her. The cafe lights blurred through her tears. She whispered, "I don't know who I am without him." Back home, Emily lay sprawled on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She replayed Daniel's voice in her mind, his laughter once her lifeline. Now, silence carved deep wounds. Margaret knocked softly before entering. "Still waiting for him?" she asked coldly. Emily turned away, whispering, "Yes." Margaret's eyes hardened. "You're wasting your life." Emily's throat tightened. "It's not wasting if it's love." Margaret sighed and left, leaving the room colder. Emily clutched her phone, desperate for a sign. Night fell again, and the silence screamed louder. Emily scrolled endlessly through old messages, rereading Daniel's declarations of love. Her lips mouthed his words, as if repetition could revive them. She typed a long message, "I can't lose you. Please tell me what's happening." Her thumb hovered, but she couldn't send it. Fear chained her hand. The phone slipped from her grasp onto the bed. She buried her face in the pillow, whispering, "Don't let this be the end." Outside, the city lights blurred through her window, each flicker a cruel echo of the distance consuming her. Emily sat at her small desk, phone in hand, staring at their old photos. She whispered, "Daniel, why did you stop calling?" Each image felt like a promise broken. She remembered his voice saying, "No matter how far, I'm always yours." She wanted to believe, but silence screamed louder. She wrote in her journal, "I have given years to love that feels like a shadow." Tears stained the page. Sophia's words echoed, "He doesn't value what you're giving." Emily pressed her palm against the book, heart aching. She imagined Daniel laughing with someone else while she clung to his memory. She muttered, "I built my world around waiting." She looked at the clock. 4 a.m. again, another night stolen. Her body was weak, but her love kept her awake. The cafe was warm, but Emily felt cold. Sophia leaned in, her blonde hair brushing her cheek as she said, "You've given everything, Emily, and he gives you silence." Emily clutched her cup, whispering, "I can't stop waiting." Sophia sighed. "You think love is sacrifice, but love should give back." Emily shook her head, muttering, "He's worth every second." The words tasted bitter even to her. The cafe clatter surrounded them, yet Sophia's gaze held her still. "One day you'll realize you deserve more than unanswered texts," Sophia said firmly. Emily's lips trembled. She whispered, "I don't want to be without him." Walking home, Emily replayed Sophia's words in her mind. The city lights blurred around her. She pulled her coat tighter, whispering, "I'm not enough for him." Her phone buzzed, just a bank notification. Disappointment hit like a blade. Daniel once told her, "You're my anchor." Now he drifted further. She paused on the sidewalk, staring at couples laughing together. Jealousy coiled inside her chest. She muttered, "Why does everyone else get closeness while I live on waiting?" A memory of Daniel sending late-night selfies surfaced, his smile once her salvation. Now, even those were gone. At home, Margaret sat across from Emily, her stern face lit by the lamp. "You're wasting your life chasing a ghost," Margaret said flatly. Emily snapped, "It's love, not a ghost." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Love should not chain you." Emily's voice broke. "You don't understand." Margaret replied coldly, "I understand too well." Emily gripped her phone, praying for a message. Margaret rose, her back stiff, muttering, "You'll see I'm right." Silence filled the room after she left. Emily whispered, "He'll prove you wrong." Yet the phone stayed silent. That night, Emily opened Daniel's old voice notes. His laugh filled her room like a ghost of happiness. She pressed the phone to her chest, whispering, "You promised forever." She scrolled to his last call log, a month old. A sob escaped her lips. She texted him again, "Please just say something." Her thumb hovered, then pressed send. Minutes passed. The screen stayed blank. She buried her face in her pillow. Sophia's words repeated, "You're holding on to an echo." Emily whispered, "I can't let go, not yet." Emily stared at her phone, the chat thread frozen in time. Daniel's last message was a week old. She whispered, "Why won't you answer me?" She typed, erased, typed again, fingers trembling. The screen stayed empty. Anger replaced her tears. She muttered, "You can post online but can't reply to me." She scrolled through his profile, a photo with coworkers, including Ryan. Her chest tightened. She slammed the phone down, whispering, "Who is he to you?" The silence in her room echoed like betrayal. The next day, Emily scrolled Daniel's feed again. There he was, smiling beside Ryan at a bar. She whispered, "You had time for him." Her heart raced, jealousy flooding in. Sophia called, "Emily, stop torturing yourself." Emily said sharply, "He belongs with me, not them." Sophia's sigh was heavy. "If he wanted you, he'd show you." Emily clenched her jaw. "You don't get it, distance is hard." Sophia said, "Distance doesn't mean lies." Emily closed the call, trembling. Emily sat in the park, phone clutched tight. Couples laughed around her. She muttered, "They don't know what it feels like to wait for someone across oceans." She scrolled their old messages, her smile fading at the last. "I love you from Daniel." She whispered, "Do you still mean it?" Her tears blurred the screen. A child's laughter nearby stung her heart, a reminder of life she couldn't have. She curled into herself, whispering, "Why am I the only one holding on?" Margaret watched Emily from the doorway. "Still waiting for his call?" she asked bitterly. Emily snapped, "You don't understand love." Margaret crossed her arms. "Love doesn't look like begging." Emily shouted, "He's my future!" Margaret's face hardened. "He's breaking you." Emily's voice cracked. "I'd rather break than lose him." Margaret shook her head and walked away. Emily collapsed onto the couch, pressing the phone to her forehead, whispering, "Why can't you just love me back the way I love you?" Late at night, Emily's phone buzzed. Her heart leapt, but it was only a system update. She laughed bitterly through tears. She whispered, "This phone is my whole world." She stared at Daniel's unread chat, whispering, "Please, don't replace me." She recalled his words, "Distance makes us stronger." She muttered, "It's killing me instead." She lay back staring at ceiling cracks, imagining them as fractures in her heart. The silence grew unbearable. She whispered one last time, "Why don't you want me anymore?" Emily's phone buzzed with a notification from a mutual friend's story. She clicked, her stomach twisting. Daniel stood close beside Ryan, laughter frozen in the photo. She whispered, "You said you were working late." Her hands shook as she enlarged the image. His smile wasn't for her anymore. She recalled his words, "Trust me, there's no one else." Betrayal stabbed deeper than silence ever did. She whispered, "You lied." Her chest ached as she scrolled again, each frame revealing closeness she never shared anymore. Her eyes blurred, her heart broke, and she muttered, "I was waiting while you were with him." Emily stormed into the cafe, finding Sophia already seated. She slammed her phone on the table. "Look!" she cried. Sophia's eyes widened at the photo. "Emily, he's not alone in this anymore." Emily's voice cracked. "He swore distance wouldn't change us." Sophia held her gaze. "But it has." Emily whispered, "I gave up everything for him." Sophia leaned closer, voice gentle but firm. "You gave up yourself." Emily gripped the table, shaking. How could he let me wait while he lived another life? Tears slipped down her cheeks. That evening, Emily confronted her mirror. She whispered, "Who am I without him?" Her reflection offered no answer. She remembered the nights she stayed up, clutching her phone, believing his every promise. Now, those words felt like poison. Margaret's voice echoed in her mind, "He's breaking you." Emily pressed her hands against the glass. "I broke myself for him." A sob escaped her throat. Her reflection blurred through her tears. She whispered, "I don't recognize myself anymore." The silence felt like confession. Emily finally sent Daniel a message, "Tell me the truth." Her heart raced as minutes crawled. At last, a reply. "I never wanted to hurt you." She whispered, "That's not an answer." Another bubble appeared. Things changed. I changed. Emily's breath caught. "You promised me forever." Silence followed. She threw her phone on the bed, screaming, "You don't get to change when I gave you everything." She collapsed, sobbing into her hands, broken by the truth unspoken between the lines. Hours later, Emily found herself scrolling through bank statements. A line caught her eye, money she had sent Daniel months ago. She whispered, "I even helped you when I had nothing." Her tears fell onto the screen. "And you gave me silence." She slammed the laptop shut, rage boiling beneath grief. Her chest heaved as she whispered, "You didn't just take my love, you took my life." She curled into herself, realizing the truth wasn't just betrayal, it was exploitation. Her voice broke, "I was nothing but convenience." Emily's shaking hands dialed Daniel's number. After endless rings, his voice finally came. "Emily," he said flatly. She whispered, "Tell me you didn't betray me." Silence lingered before he muttered, "I didn't mean to." Her chest tightened. "You meant enough to lie, enough to choose someone else over me." He sighed. "I couldn't keep pretending." Emily shouted, "Pretending? I gave you everything." His voice grew cold. "I didn't ask you to." Her heart cracked at those words. Tears streamed as she cried, "You asked me to wait, and I did. You asked me to believe, and I did. What else did you want?" His silence cut deeper than knives. Daniel's voice came faint through the line. I wanted freedom. Emily gasped. Freedom from me? His tone sharp. From everything. I can't be tied down. She clutched the phone. So I was a chain to you? His sigh was heavy. I cared, but not enough to stay. Emily's hand shook violently. You were my life, Daniel, he said bitterly. That's the problem. Emily screamed. Don't twist my love into blame. Her sobs filled the silence. He whispered, I can't love you the way you want. Her voice cracked. Then why did you promise? His silence confirmed the betrayal. Emily's cries echoed through the room. You destroyed me, she whispered. Daniel's reply was hollow. I didn't ask you to wait. Her voice shook with rage. You begged me to trust you. You told me distance meant nothing. He muttered. I thought it was true then. Emily's scream pierced the silence. Then you lied every night I cried myself to sleep? Her sobs broke into gasps. Daniel stayed quiet, his silence more brutal than words. Emily whispered, I don't even know who you are anymore. The call burned in her ear like fire, each second killing the last fragments of hope. Her sobs turned into fury. Did you love me at all? She demanded. Daniel's voice cracked for the first time. I did once. Her face fell. Once isn't enough, he said coldly. People change. Emily shouted, You don't get to change when someone built their world around you. He said softly, Then build another world. She gasped like he had struck her. You were my world. His silence stretched, cruel and final. Emily dropped the phone, sobbing into her hands. She whispered, I can't breathe without you. But the line was dead. Emily picked up the phone again, but the call had ended. The silence screamed louder than his words. She muttered. That was our goodbye. Her chest felt hollow, her tears endless. She whispered, I loved you more than myself. She pressed the phone to her chest like it could still carry his voice. Sophia's warning echoed, One day he'll break you. Emily sobbed. That day is today. Outside, the night was calm, but inside her world collapsed. She whispered through tears, You killed the part of me that believed in forever. The silence remained her only answer. Emily sat frozen on the bed, the phone heavy in her hand, her body numb from hours of sobbing. Her whisper trembled, He's gone. The words burned in her throat, as if speaking them made the loss permanent. Her mind replayed every promise Daniel once made, how he said, Distance can't touch us, how he vowed, Forever is ours. Yet forever had unraveled into silence. Her hands shook as she dropped the phone onto the mattress, staring at the faint glow of dawn filtering through the curtains. She whispered again, He won't call back. Each breath felt like a battle she wasn't prepared to fight. She thought of all the nights she stayed awake, waiting for his messages, sacrificing her sleep, her joy, her life for him. Her chest tightened with the weight of wasted years. The silence in the room pressed in like suffocation. She clutched her blanket, muttering, I gave everything, and I got nothing. For the first time, Emily realized the end wasn't coming. It had already arrived. The knock on her door startled her, but Sophia entered quietly, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. She set one on the desk and whispered, You look like you haven't slept. Emily gave a hollow laugh, replying, Sleep left with him. Her voice cracked on the last word. Sophia sat beside her, eyes soft but steady. You don't need him to survive. Emily looked away, tears blurring her vision. But I don't know how to live without him. Sophia reached for her hand, gripping it firmly. You'll learn, she said, her voice firm like a promise. Emily shook her head, whispering, He was my whole world. Sophia's gaze deepened. Then it's time to build another one. The words pierced her chest like glass, yet somewhere inside, they felt like a truth she had ignored for too long. Emily pressed her face into her palms, whispering, I can't erase him. Sophia answered gently, You don't need to erase him. You need to find yourself again. Emily's tears fell silently. a fragile acknowledgement of the path ahead. Emily wandered the city streets that afternoon, her body moving but her spirit hollow. She whispered, "I'm a ghost without him." The traffic roared, people laughed, and couples walked hand in hand, but it all felt distant, like she was behind glass. She passed the bookstore where she once video called Daniel, remembering how he laughed so freely that night. The memory stabbed her chest. She stopped, staring blankly at the window display, her reflection looking more broken than she had ever seen. She muttered, "I don't belong anywhere." Her phone buzzed, her heart leaping, only to see an ad notification. The disappointment crushed her. Even strangers reach out more than he does. Unassorting. Her voice cracked. She turned, watching a young couple laugh as they held hands, their joy a painful mirror. She whispered, "It's over, isn't it?" The words echoed inside her, bitter and heavy. She wrapped her coat tighter, realizing the truth she had tried so hard to deny. Daniel had left her long before he ever said the words. Back at home, Margaret found Emily sitting at the kitchen table, a cold mug in her hands. "He's not worth this," Margaret said sharply, her tone slicing the silence. Emily exhaled slowly, voice empty. "I know." The admission was barely audible. Margaret's stern eyes softened, her hand resting on Emily's shoulder. "You're stronger than you think." Emily shook her head, whispering, "If I were strong, it wouldn't hurt this much." Margaret leaned closer, her voice quieter. "It hurts because you loved, but love shouldn't leave you empty." Emily's fingers tightened around the mug, whispering, "He didn't love me enough." Margaret's silence said everything. The kitchen clock ticked, each sound echoing her emptiness. For the first time, Emily didn't fight Margaret's words. She sat in stillness, her grief exposed, but no longer hidden. For once her mother didn't argue, and Emily didn't resist. They just sat, the silence heavy but shared, and in that shared silence, Emily felt a faint glimmer of being less alone. That night, Emily curled by the window, knees pulled to her chest, journal open on her lap. She whispered, "This is what it feels like to start over." Her pen moved slowly, shaky words filling the page. "I loved him more than myself, and he left me empty." A tear smudged the ink, but she kept writing. "This pain will not define me. I will not be an echo of his absence." Her breath shuddered, but she pressed on. She whispered, "These are the last words I'll write about you." Closing the journal, she hugged it to her chest as though sealing her grief inside. The city lights outside flickered, blurred through her tears, but she no longer saw them as cruel reminders. She saw them as proof the world kept moving. She whispered, "Maybe I can too." For the first time, her voice carried not only sorrow but the fragile thread of belief. The night was quiet, but it didn't feel like the end anymore. It felt like the faint beginning of something unnamed. Emily walked the riverside path at dusk, her coat pulled tight against the cold breeze. She whispered, "This city feels bigger without you." The water rippled quietly, reflecting fading orange light. She remembered how Daniel's voice once filled the void, how his laughter made her feel less alone. Now there was only the rush of wind and the hum of strangers passing. Couples strolled hand in hand, their laughter cutting like glass. She muttered, "I was once that happy." Her phone buzzed in her pocket, her heart racing. She pulled it out, just a promotional message. She laughed bitterly, whispering, "Even strangers talk to me more than you do." She stopped at the railing, leaning forward, watching the river flow. The current carried leaves downstream, never hesitating, never looking back. She whispered, "The river moves on. Maybe I can too." Her breath fogged in the cold air as her words hung like fragile promises she wasn't ready to break. Back home, Emily sat on the couch with Sophia beside her. Sophia said gently, "You've carried him long enough." Emily stared at her phone, whispering, "If I delete these, it's like we never existed." Sophia placed her hand on Emily's, steady and warm. "You existed, you loved, but you deserve to live too." Emily's eyes blurred with tears as she scrolled through years of messages. Every promise, every laugh, every "I love you" stared back at her like ghosts. Her hand shook, her thumb hovering over the delete button. "This was my life," she whispered. Sophia's gaze remained firm. "And now it's time to live yours." Emily closed her eyes, pressing her lips together. A sob escaped her throat as her thumb pressed down. The screen went blank, years erased in a heartbeat. She dropped the phone onto the couch, her body trembling. Through her tears, she whispered, "He's gone for real this time." Emily stood in front of her wardrobe, holding the sweater Daniel had given her years ago. She whispered, "You said this would keep me warm when you couldn't." She pressed it to her face, but his scent was long gone, replaced by emptiness. She closed her eyes, letting the ache wash through her. "You don't get to haunt me forever," she muttered. Folding the sweater carefully, she placed it into a cardboard box already filled with mementos. Photos, letters, fragments of a love that had consumed her. Her hands trembled, but they didn't falter. She sealed the box with tape, pressing it firmly until it shut with finality. Tears slid down her face, but she felt something new beneath them. Steadiness. She whispered, "This is me choosing myself." For the first time, her grief was not only about loss, it was also about release. She stepped back from the box, staring at it like a coffin, a burial for the version of herself that lived only for him. That evening, Emily sat by the window with her journal open, pen trembling in her hand. She wrote, "I loved him more than myself, and he left me empty." A tear dropped, smudging the ink. But she kept writing, "This pain will not define me. I will not live as an echo of his absence." She whispered aloud, "These are the last words I'll ever write about you." Closing the journal, she pressed it to her chest, breathing heavily. Her heart ached, but she felt lighter than before. She turned toward the city skyline, the lights flickering like tiny beacons. For the first time, she didn't see them as cruel reminders of what she had lost. She saw them as reminders of what was still possible. She whispered, "Tomorrow is waiting." The night outside remained cold, but in her chest, something fragile and warm flickered, small but unyielding, a quiet ember of survival. Emily placed her phone face down on the nightstand, whispering, "You'll never light up my screen again." She slid under her blanket, her body exhausted but calmer. For the first time in months, she didn't wait for his call. She whispered into the stillness, "This is the end." The silence replied, heavy but final. She closed her eyes, her mind echoing with his broken promises, yet her lips formed her own final truth. Tears welled but didn't fall. She whispered one last sentence into the darkness, her voice steady, scarred, unforgettable. "He never realized the last message he ignored was my goodbye." The room remained still, the city quiet, the phone lifeless. But for Emily, the story had ended, and though the ache would linger, the last words carved into her heart carried both her grief and her strength.